What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. I have a crazy story to tell y'all in today's video. Well, actually, it's not going to be me. Ross Coulthart was recently a guest on a podcast, and he talked about something I thought we should cover because it comes up a lot in the UFO community. It's a program called GATE, G-A-T-E. Now, first, before I get to these clips, I'm going to explain a little bit about what this program is, and it'll all make sense as this video goes along, so make sure to stay till the end. Now, before we get to this, me explaining what GATE is, please hit that like button, Vetters. That really helps out the videos, and of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Put out new videos every week about the UFO phenomena. Let's go, y'all. The GATE program, which stands for the Gifted and Talented Education Program, was implemented in various U.S. school districts since the 1960s, aimed to provide enriched education for intellectually advanced students, typically identified through high IQ scores or other assessments. Some speculation, primarily from online discussions and unverified claims on platforms like X, suggests that GATE may have been used as a covert operation by government agencies, such as the CIA or Pentagon, to identify and study children with extrasensory abilities, including telepathy, during the Cold War era from the 1970s to the 1990s. These claims point to programs like Project Stargate, which explored psychic phenomena like remote viewing for intelligence purposes, as potential evidence of a connection. For instance, posts on X and Reddit anecdotes describe GATE participants undergoing unusual tests, such as telepathy or ESP experiments in the 1970s and 1980s. However, no declassified documents or credible scientific evidence directly link GATE to telepathy research. Mainstream accounts describe GATE as an educational initiative, while the telepathy connection remains speculative, largely fueled by anecdotal reports and distrust in government programs.
Well, first of all, gifted children could be underachieving, and that's one of the big issues, is that many of us do not live up to our potential. And, we talk about the fact that children don't live up to their potential for a variety of reasons. It could be psychological, it could be physiological, but sometimes underachievement is really a consequence of poor curriculum. So that one of the things that we're talking about is we're trying to ameliorate the issue of underachievement by saying, here's curriculum that we know that is responsive to the needs, the interests, and abilities of gifted children. But there's another part of that, and that is there's a moral obligation for us to try to take every child's potential and look at what kinds of curricular experiences manifest that potential into performance.
So, is there something to GATE, right? Was this sort of this covert operation to find, weed out amongst the kids who's got these telepathic connections and just extrasensory connections, right? Because that is the idea. And yes, what I'm describing is something akin to the show Stranger Things, right? Where a character named 11 was secretly held in this sort of, underground base where she had all these abilities. I mean, you've seen the show, right? I mean, that's basically the idea, right? And Stranger Things is based on a real account, a real story, at least a real conspiracy, right? Called Montauk, which describes something similar. The Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory alleging secret government experiments at Camp Hero, a decommissioned Air Force base in Montauk, New York during the 1970s and 1980s. It claims the U.S. military conducted covert research involving time travel, mind control, psychic warfare, and interdimensional exploration, building on the earlier Philadelphia experiment. Key figures like Preston Nichols and Al Bielek, who claimed to be whistleblowers, describe suppressed memories of their involvement in experiments manipulating space-time and contacting extraterrestrials. The theory gained traction through books like The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time from 1992, but lacks credible evidence and is dismissed by skeptics as fiction, possibly inspired by Cold War paranoia and sci-fi. No official records or physical proof support the claims, and the site is now a state park. The Netflix series Stranger Things, created by the Duffer Brothers, draws loose inspiration from the Montauk Project. Originally titled Montauk, the show shifted its setting to the fictional Hawkins, Indiana, but retained themes of secret government experiments. Set in the 1980s, it follows children encountering supernatural phenomena, including a girl 11 with telekinetic powers, tied to a covert lab, the Hawkins National Laboratory, conducting experiments linked to the Upside Down, a parallel dimension. The Montauk Conspiracy's ideas of mind control and dimensional rifts echo in the show's narrative, blending 1980s nostalgia with sci-fi horror. The Duffer Brothers confirmed the Montauk Project as a creative spark, though Stranger Things fictionalizes and expands these ideas, focusing on character-driven storytelling rather than directly depicting the conspiracy. So, let's jump into this first clip of Ross Coulthart discussing the infamous GATE program.
What's really interesting is the CIA was investigating telepathy and psychic phenomena 50 years ago, and officially it was all axed, officially it was all stopped. But what I've discovered is the psionic program never stopped. They've been using people with telepathic skills for many, many decades. It never stopped.
I wanted to ask you about that, sir. So you believe that the Gifted and Talented program in some ways was like a cover or a recruiting ground for the psionics program?
It's not a belief. I know for a fact it was. I've now spoken to multiple people who are now adults who, as children, were diverted into the Gifted and Talented education program. They all recall being tested for psychic skills. So there are these things called Werner cards, where you have to try and guess what the shapes are on the cards. And all of them have related these tests being given to them. And some of them have told me how they were then taken into a facility that sounds like something out of Stranger Things.
Oh, wow.
Where they were literally put in a chair. They had a ECG cap on their heads, and they were taught how to use their brains to connect with a non-human consciousness. Now, I know this sounds like science fiction, and I would forgive anybody who's listening to this for going, oh my God, this reporter has gone completely crazy.
Guys, this is too nice of a sweater he's wearing to be a liar. Okay? It's too nice.
But I'll tell you what happened to me. So we were telling the story of the summoning. So
Yeah.
it was a really cool event. I don't know if you guys have ever been to this place called Esalen, but
No.
I've heard of it, but I've never been there.
I got invited to this event that was organized by Alex Clokus, who's the guy who's funding Skywatcher. And Clokus knows a lot of billionaires, and billionaires have got all these drop-dead gorgeous girlfriends. And so I found myself as a 60-something guy walking around this place at Esalen, where all these supermodels are walking naked around these hot spring baths.
Were they summoned? They were summoned too, but it was cash.
All these beautiful young women are walking around buck naked, and I was far
That's one
too
way to
shy
get them there, huh?
Up in the bath. But that evening, after I'd been in a hot springs bath with some of these beautiful women, I was. They said to me, "Come and do the summoning." And so we're holding hands, lying on the ground, chanting, meditating. And then Jordan, who's the psionic that was doing the attempted connection, he says, "I'm connected." And at the very moment that he said he was connected, it was like somebody flicked a light switch, and there were these two golden, slightly silvery orbs on the horizon. And there's this beautiful, I won't embarrass him, but a Chinese billionaire who lives in San Fran, and he's putting his hands up in the air and he's going, we love you, come close."
So what do you think? Is there something to this? Was this program a cover, by the CIA to sort of recruit children? I mean, this sounds honestly just crazy on its, on the surface, right? Could there be some truth to it? I definitely have seen a lot of people claim online to be, they were part of the GATE program, and they also said they did secret government experiments, as a child, and gained a lot of that through sort of like hypnotism or regressive memory, techniques, right, where they can go back and kind of find some hidden memories, but no like direct evidence that I've ever seen of any of this, right? So could there be something to this? I mean, programs like that exist today, right? They may not be called GATE, but they're called other things, and kind of all over the world. I don't know, right? Could it be just a program to fast track children who are a little more, smarter than the rest of us? but could governments be going in and using this to pull kids out, right? Like, where are all these missing kids at, right? If that's happening, I don't know. There's a lot to it, right? It's definitely in conspiracy land, but there's definitely a lot of claims of it. So I don't know. Ross is claiming that he knows it to be a true thing. I don't know, right? But let's hear from Ross again a little bit about describing some of the things that he saw that basically these people from the GATE programs would be able to do, which is sort of connect, right, with these orbs. And what exactly are they seeing?
So what was quite beautiful was all of us were profoundly affected by that experience, because there's no way in the world that Jordan could have known that a blue orb was going to show up that night. And he definitely predicted it, and it happened in the way that he predicted.
So the real quick, I just wanted to say so when you say with the orb, because these things have been described in a multitude of ways, and just like what Jake Barber was saying about all the different types they have, the 9 different types. But when you say these orbs, sometimes you'll see these photos of these orbs where some of them look like they have like kind of a hard border with like a plasma-like center, and then sometimes they're described just as balls of light. That night, which did that lean into more?
They were plasma. I didn't see anything solid inside them. They were like plasma balls of light.
Okay.
It was like,
wow.
It was like Jupiter. It was like the planet Jupiter swirling inside an orange ball.
Wow.
All right, y'all. I'll put a link in the description to the full interview if you want to go check it out with Ross. And let me know what you think in the comments. Is there something to this GATE program, right? This, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, maybe into the early 90s of these programs being exploited, right? To find people with special abilities, right? Is Stranger Things real? Is it more realer things? Is that what they should call it? I don't know. Anyway, bad joke. All right, y'all. Links in the description. Go check it out. We'll see you in the next video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.